The history of energy in 10 minutes. Chapter 1. The history of energy. Energy and early humans, or look, fire. Humanity's first connection with fuels began with, look, it burns. Early humans found flint a handy sort of stone that helped them make fire. Shortly thereafter, arrows and spears, energy-saving tools for hunting, were added to their bag of tricks. Eventually, groups of these early hunters and gatherers grabbed their spears and went for a walk, wandering through Africa, Asia, Europe and Australia, crossing a tiny land bridge to the Americas, finally stopping for a rest at the Straits of Magellan. Tired of walking, some put down roots along the way in the form of seeds, giving rise to agriculture. They found that farming was not only more useful, it required a much shorter commute and could be done with the help of animals like cows and horses. This helped create surplus food that led to more peoples and villages, towns and finally cities. Cities like London eventually became hubs of industry, commerce and trade. Energy-dense coal fueled the growth of industry, increasing production and bringing about the Industrial Revolution. Chapter 2. The history of energy, the discovery of oil, or a Texas Tea Party. 1858. Colonel Edwin Drake successfully drilled for oil, bringing new concepts for oil production and use to American cities. Kerosene for home lighting finally replaced whale oil lighting, to the great relief and satisfaction of the whales. Oil demand climbed, attracting prospectors and investors. Underground resources, like oil, are common property. This incentivized drilling and overproduction, leading to dry wells, high oil prices and radical yo-yo price fluctuations. Standard Oil, under the leadership of John D. Rockefeller, was the first to produce high-quality kerosene at low prices. Standard Oil soon gained control of the entire oil production process, and an American monopoly was born. With production, manufacturing and distribution under one roof, Standard Oil became the oil standard. Henry Ford gave us further uses for oil, making automobiles available to the common folk. As the uses of oil expanded, so did its dividends. The party seemed like it would last forever, till Sherman showed up with his Antitrust Act. Determined to shatter monopolies, the Antitrust Act divided Standard Oil into dozens of tiny oil companies, such as Standard Oil of New Jersey and Standard Oil of New York. Like attracts like, and soon these companies began to merge, giving rise to 3 of the 5 largest oil companies. These owned over 85% of world oil production, and these, in turn, gave rise to the super majors. Chapter 3. The history of energy, peak oil or the King's Hill. M. King Hubbert, geoscientist and researcher with Shell, an all-around superhero, predicted that maximum rate of petroleum extraction in the continental USA would be reached in the early 1970s, after which the rate of production would decline. He coined this peak oil. It turned out that Hubbert was right. US oil production reached its ceiling in 1970, leading to increased dependence on foreign imported oil. 1973, the birth of the oil weapon on a global scale. Unhappy with the US decision to assist Israel with conflicts with their Arab neighbors, OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, decided to flex its oil muscles and refused to export oil to the USA. Interruption in the flow of oil and US dependence on foreign oil sources shocked the American public. Scarcity and rationing of petroleum soon followed, leading to long and unhappy lines at the pump, resulting in a quadrupling of global oil prices. The oil price shock that followed resulted in a stock market crash, increased unemployment and decline in the US GDP. Unfortunately, as the USA went, so went the rest of the world. World GDP declined to nearly zero in a matter of a year. Aware of their newfound power, OPEC and state-owned oil companies began nationalizing oil production. By 2010, the once mighty super major oil companies were reduced to owning less than 6% of the world oil production. Chapter 4. The history of energy, energy return on investment, or an energy cost benefit analysis. The great thinkers Charles Hall and colleagues decided to explore what makes some energy better than others by developing the theory of energy return on energy investment, or EROI. Hall found out that you must use energy to get energy. For example, at an imaginary oil well, 1 barrel of oil is needed to run and operate the well, and 5 barrels of oil are gained, giving us an EROI of 5 to 1. Now let's look at the EROI of oil on a global scale. In 1992, only 1 barrel of oil was needed to get a whopping 26 barrels of oil. This, in turn, powered economic prosperity. The EROI of global oil resources continued to increase through 1998. By the year 2000, many of the oil-exporting countries had hit peak oil, making it harder to maintain or increase oil production rates. By 2006, the EROI for global oil had declined by nearly half. When inexpensive, high EROI oil flows into an economy, the economy runs like a well-oiled machine. But when oil companies must drill for poorer quality oil in increasingly less accessible areas, the EROI decreases and the economy suffers. Conventional fossil fuels have high EROI values, but a lump of high EROI coal isn't very useful when you want to charge your phone. Fossil fuels must be converted into electricity, and that process uses energy. Energy such as wind, solar and nuclear typically have lower EROI values but do not need to be converted into electricity. This useful electricity is then used to power the economy and the world. Chapter 5. The History of Energy. Energy and Society, or the Link to Quality of Life. J.G. Lambert, entrepreneur and energy political specialist, pioneered a series of revolutionary energy concepts linking energy availability with quality of life. Lambert and colleagues extended the concept of EROI to incorporate the total energy generated and used by a society. They coined it EROI for Society, or EROI-SOC. The EROI of the fuels affects the EROI of a society. Access to high EROI fuels leads to wealth, while reliance on low EROI fuels, such as wood, is associated with poverty. A moderately wealthy nation such as South Africa relies on high EROI coal to make goods that are sold to other countries, like the UK. Consequently, South Africa has a moderate EROI-SOC of 13 to 1. On the other hand, an impoverished nation such as Ethiopia must rely on small amounts of low EROI combustible biomass, like wood and brush, to make low-profit goods, giving Ethiopia a very low EROI-SOC of 2 to 1. EROI-SOC is linked with quality of life measurements. Low EROI-SOC values are associated with very low quality of life, while nations with high EROI-SOC values, such as the UK, have a higher quality of life. 2013, Lambert and colleagues combined EROI-SOC, quantity and distribution of energy to form a combined energy index, the Lambert Energy Index, or LEI. LEI provides a new tool for understanding the impact of energy on social indicators, further demonstrating that access to energy goes hand in hand with quality of life. Chapter 6. The History of Energy. Moving Forward, or Energy, the Bright Solution. Energy and natural resources power our economy and, in turn, our lives. Improving EROI-SOC and the quantity and distribution of energy is a way of moving forward. Right now, developed nations have a greater energy availability and a higher quality of life. To improve our world, we must improve total energy availability for all nations, and with that, quality of life. The United Nations and various other aid organizations provide aid to developing nations in an attempt to improve standards of living. Money must be awarded to improving energy availability, and through that, improvements in standards of living may be made. So, in conclusion, improving EROI-SOC, quantity and distribution of energy improves energy availability, LEI, which is links to higher quality of life, and happier people make a happier planet.